Greetings, Tezos Nation. Welcome to another edition of TezTalks Live. I'm Stu from the Tezos Commons. Joining me today is Yoeshi, OG Tezos artist, writer, moderator, and host of Artz Fridays, the weekly Tezos art-focused community space on X. Yoeshi is joining us today to talk about his ongoing journey down the blockchain rabbit hole, the state of the Tezos art ecosystem in 2025, and why he's taken it upon himself to bring the thriving Tezos art community together and share its incredible work. Hi, Yoeshi. Where are you right now, and how's the weather?
I am in Athens, Georgia, and the weather is actually beautiful, and it's great to see you. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's great to see you too. As we always do here on TezTalks Live, can you get the ball rolling by telling us a bit about your background and how you got started on your journey into the arts?
Absolutely. As far as getting into the arts, it's been since I could walk. I was singing and watching my dad play guitar from a very, very young age. And he taught me my first few chords, and I started playing. And the journey has just been music, 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 art, 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 music, music ever since until I found blockchain. And that's kind of where it all got spiced up.
Okay. And how did you first come into contact with blockchain technology?
A friend from college, actually, Belmont University, where I actually studied music and vocal performance, he reached out to me and has always been like kind of a fellow struggling artist and said, "Hey, I got something that's really helping me. I want you to check it out." And he started talking to me about Bitcoin. And this was in 2017, right when it started hitting four digits. And so I was like, "What are you talking about? This seems like a scam," all the normal first like pushbacks. And then finally like decided to throw $50 towards Litecoin. And the timing couldn't have been more serendipitous. I woke up the next morning with $150. And it got me hooked on the whole concept of there's more out there. And so that sent me down the rabbit hole, learning about crypto and blockchain and Bitcoin and trying to find all the alternatives, and eventually fell into Tezos after just enough experience to realize how special it was right off the bat.
Okay. And after your 24-hour $100 windfall, when you started to explore the space, what was it about the world of blockchain that sort of piqued your interest and inspired you to get involved?
On the most fundamental core simple level, just the idea of being able to put even a small amount of money away from myself to where I couldn't spend it or blow it, and like have a few steps of conscious decisions to take it out. That whole concept to me was it almost tricked my mind into finally caring about what I have behind the veil
Hmm.
financially. And so that really started helping mature my whole thought process and planning a life and achieving my goals, and started kind of like ushering in this new era of how can I use this blockchain and all this new stuff to make my next go around as an artist a little easier and more fun.
Okay. And when did you first sort of make that connection between what you were doing artistically and this technology?
When I first dove into blockchain, I tried to make sure it was in my forefront that this was a pause from my life goals of music and art. And then it was easily lost in practice for, a few years, just kind of getting caught up in the degeneracy of it all. And it really genuinely was when I got a message from Half Soul in early or late 2020, I think, or early 2021, about this new platform called Hiket. I had no idea what NFTs were. I've never been an ETH guy. So like I really hadn't been introduced to the whole concept at all. And then all of a sudden I go to Hiket 2000's Twitter account and message and like, how do I use this? And so I got walked through, ended up minting object number 17, and got it. It just made sense. And it was like that was when it really started. The sparks started flying as far as realizing this is why I came here, and this is the beginning of that full circle of how I can tie it into my life goals.
Okay, and when you say you sort of dove in, minted something, and it made sense, can you talk a bit more about that? Like, what was it about it that made sense to you?
It's really kind of magical because what I minted was a piece of photography, which I've never associated myself as a photographer, but I've always, as a musician, tried to be good at grabbing visually, aesthetically pleasing things to use in my marketing for cover art, for this and that. So it was the first time I looked at any of my visual art and said, I can do something with this,
Hmm.
show it to people that might actually care. So I put it out there on a blockchain that was like all of a sudden it was like, oh, instead of just showing this to my Facebook crew or just people in my general circle, anybody in the world is potentially going to be able to see this now. And so it really made it loud and clear right off the bat that even if I can't mint music yet because the file sizes are too small, this is the right direction, and that this is how I take all of it and put it in one place that makes sense and where people can see my story and understand why I'm all over the place doing art and music and crypto. And yeah, it kind of helped all put it in one place.
Okay, so Hicket Nunk was sort of your intro into the Tezos ecosystem. Had you heard of Tezos before you got involved with Hicket Nunk?
I was obsessed. It was before that I had kind of gotten lost in like excitement for DeFi and staking and the idea of earning a Tez a day over time, just like all of that kind of part of it that helped me again get more excited about trying to be an artist again, but, with a little bit more balance. So I got super excited about that part and ended up creating the Tezos uh, Telegram channel called Quip Talk right when QuipaSwap, the first big DeFi platform, came out, and got very heavily into that and was like writing music just for the fun to help promote projects and wrote the song "If You Wanna Be Like Bezos" by Tezos, and like that blew up, and like people like really made me feel like I had another thing that I could do. So that all kind of fell into place, and then all of a sudden the NFTs. So yeah, it was really kind of magical how what was accidentally a break from art became a full on revival.
Okay, and so there you are entering the Tezos ecosystem. It sounds like you were pretty excited about it,
Very.
hence you writing songs about what was going on in the ecosystem. What was it about this ecosystem in particular that made you decide to get so deeply involved?
The constant confirmation, timing, validation of my own talent and like what I feel like I'm here on earth to do, and meeting people that felt like similar minds. It really is almost overwhelming when people try to say that nothing happens on Tezos when I try to like rebuttal because there's just been so much thing after thing after thing, literally from 2019 to now, that have been like deeply meaningful and impactful and like life changing for me as a human being, beyond technology or pumps on charts or even just the NFTs. It all kind of falls into this absolute inevitable reason to be excited again about the
Mm.
potential of the future.
Okay. And you mentioned starting a chat, starting to write songs about what was going on in the ecosystem, as sort of a doorway to becoming an active member of this community.
Hmm.
But can you tell us a bit about the journey since then? Because as far as I'm aware, you've sort of been doing this ever since. So what has that journey been like to becoming somebody who is so deeply entrenched in this community?
Right when I created the Quip Talk channel on Telegram is right around when it was at least within the same like block of months that like Tezards was released, right? And so everybody was kind of using this new Telegram channel as a place to kind of like come together and share their excitement and share links to different projects. And then I happened to drop 101 hand drawn butterflies that I drew on my iPad, and they were called Tezerflies, and they sold out. And it was like one of the most profitable moments of my life and allowed me to start building what is now Yoeshi Labs, where I produce everything that I do on Tezos. And it's kind of become an all-in-one studio where I do the art, the music, the work for moderating, the writing, the journalism, and it's all started with that one big spark of activity on Telegram. So I guess long story, that leaned into giving me more artistic freedom because I had for the first time in my life some savings. And so I dove into creating a whole music collection, kind of starting to share some of my songs. Once I bought the studio, I started recording music and putting that out there. And so then I released a tribute song to the Artz NFT project, and that was picked up by Wombats and the team as like unofficial part of their whitelist. So like every person that was whitelisted for Artez ended up hearing this silly theme song that I custom wrote for them. And then I ended up getting a job essentially as an administrator for them on their Discord. So that kind of helped as the bull market kind of died down. I happened had just then locked down some like real work, you know, and so I was helping moderate and be a part of that channel and hosting what I called meme parties, which is where I would take a huge banner of like cartoon scenery and place ates of different holders and like put us all in a party together virtually. So much fun. And it really just kind of spiraled to where I met some of my closest friends, some of my biggest supporters. One of the collectors in the space named Scoony Tez has been a life-changing supporter in my life that during the hardest times was always there, along with a handful of others. And then, so that kind of got me through the bear, where I was able to continue focusing on developing as an artist and focusing on the projects for the love of the projects.
Hmm.
And I grew a quick passion realizing that I was one of the few artists that was also equally obsessed with the tech. And so that I could be that kind of bridge, which is always something I've seen myself in general as in life, as a personality, as somebody that can bridge the gaps and be a communicator in between clashing things. So that's what I played a role in accidentally in the Tezos Telegram, was kind of this blend between, hey artist, there's this cool project, hey project, there's this cool artist, and kind of bringing everybody together. And that's essentially where I think I fell into the role that I'm in today, is like just practicing that, volunteering over and over again, continuing to show that I'm here every day no matter what. And that's why I really feel very much like this is a calling and that this is a blessing, and then I need to honor it and just keep stepping up to the plate.
Okay. And to that end of being that bridge and stepping up to the plate, this journey has led you to start producing Artsy Fridays, which I introed very briefly off the top there. But for those who might not be familiar just yet, what exactly is Artsy Fridays and what did you hope to accomplish with it?
RC Fridays is one of the first official initiatives that I'm doing on behalf of Tezos Commons. And it's something that I was asked to come up with to help the art community on Tezos continue to feel more seen, more heard, more appreciated, all of the above. And as somebody that has personally, as an artist in the space, fought all of those emotions, myself, I really tried to go into my own place and think, if I were an artist being asked onto a regular show, what would I want? And so I sat down and I created the concept of Artsy Friday with the encouragement that I would be, supported along the way and have people helping with the hosting and stuff like that because I had never done a space, you know. So like uh that whole thing came like another like, oh wow, I could really make something special out of this if it works and give other artists what I'd want. So we tried it out and I had a couple of, the closer people that I've connected with in the space through like Tez Tones and other musicians come up, and we gave it a try and it went well, and it's been developing out ever since. I think we've showcased and featured over 70 plus artists now, um, every week, Friday, from 2 typically to around 3 p.m. Eastern Time with Kryptonio as co-host. We usually pick 2 songs that we play at the beginning and at the end of each space that are specifically songs minted on Tezos, as I got a little extra initiative to kind of showcase artists that are minting their music. And within that, we also do a weekly gem thread where the featured artist, I go in and I pick a few of their pieces of art on object or Tezos in general and do a write up about it and put it up on X to kind of be a accompaniment to the interview,
Mm-hmm.
to where we can go in and say, hey, this piece and this write up, let's talk about this one. And it kind of adds as a little extra milestone marker of the event as well.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned you're now 70-ish artists deep on doing this. Um, what is the response to Artsy Fridays and the other work that you've been doing been like from the Tezos Art community?
So far, almost 100% positive. I don't think when I think back, I don't think I've had anybody reach out and be like, "That was terrible," or "This needs to be better." Most of the time, it is a genuine feel good experience for all parties involved. And the more we can just continue that and refine it to where even more can be shared in the amount of time, and more people are willing to come up and ask questions, it's exactly what I hoped it would be, and even then, we can continue making it better.
And for those interested in checking Artsy Fridays out, where and when exactly can it be found?
Typically, you will find the official spaces links being posted either Wednesday or Thursday the week of on the Tezos Commons handle on X.
Okay.
And we usually do that with a built-in flyer as well, so that people can just visually see it as they're scrolling.
Okay. And as you mentioned, in addition to Artsy Fridays, you've also started producing written work, keeping us apprised of the goings on in the Tezos art world and highlighting the artists and work emerging within it. Um, I know you already mentioned it sort of as an accompaniment to the Artsy Fridays spaces, but why did you feel like it was important for you to focus so much of your time and energy on sort of shining a spotlight on Tezos's art community?
Because I'm so tired of continuously seeing Joe Schmoes randomly saying that nobody uses Tezos. It's almost nauseating because I'm here every day and I have the opposite experience of almost it's overwhelming how I always end up finding somebody else that's like, how did I not know you're here?
Mm,
I've been here every day. You've been here every day. How do we not know each other? And the answer to that is because it's decentralization actually working. You know, it's like we actually have a truly, genuinely decentralized network of people using this blockchain. And like when it comes down to it, the only thing that connects with the people in my real life is the art. They don't care about the tech, they care about the application of it. So the more and more we can showcase that these are real, genuinely passionate human beings, not just chasing charts on screens,
mm,
that have stories to tell and a genuine deep reason they're making what they're making, and it's not just slop so that they can make a quick buck. Every time we can give a different example of that around the world, the more and more and more I feel like people are just going to have that they're not going to have anything to deny anymore.
yeah.
And even on a personal level, like as an artist, like looking at art and trying to challenge my perception of what good and bad art is. It's like that continues being expanded and improved upon. And it's frustrating when I think about how many people are completely clueless to that level of growth and that level of like passionate interactions that we can have sitting in our own houses in one of the otherwise most like lonely phases of history, you know? like like this is so special.
Okay. And in that process that you're describing, how do you choose the artist and work that you'll be focusing on?
It's absolutely a balancing act because one of the main reasons I hesitated to book or even try to book big names at first It's because that's another thing that people have seen a lot of already versus a lot of the smaller, more intimate passion stories that are still up and coming. But the balancing act in that is that we want as many people to see these interviews and absorb them as possible. So there is not only the benefit of the fact that let's use like this week's artist is a great example. Gold Cat coming up on Friday, absolutely in my opinion a massive name in the space, widely respected. I'm frankly a little intimidated. I'm excited, but it's a great example of I can already picture maybe one or two random accounts saying something about why are you booking bigger names? We want to see the smaller artists, and the answer to that question is that those smaller artists deserve a bigger audience. And to get to that bigger audience, we need to host everyone and
Mm,
keep growing.
makes sense. So, just before we move on, we talked about the articles that you've been writing as well. What's the best place for those interested in reading your written work to find it?
Every week, Tezos Commons has a handful of articles published, and it depends on the style of article where it goes. But you can always go to Tezos Commons Medium page as a starting point. Tezos Commons handle on X, their articles tab is epic, maybe one of the best in the space. And then, of course, select pieces go up on Spotlight.
Okay. This is all great stuff so far. I'm excited to learn more. But before we dive into the nitty gritty, are you ready for the world famous TezTalks lightning round?
Sure.
Fabulous. Then it is lightning round time.
Here we go.
Remember, there are no wrong answers. This is just for fun so our viewers can get to know you a little bit better. Are you ready?
As ready I'm going to be.
Are you a night owl or an early riser?
Early riser that fights being a night owl.
Fair. Exercise or naps?
Naps.
Pizza or sushi?
Ooh. Okay, pizza.
What's your favorite country to visit for a vacation?
I haven't been there yet, but I've always pictured it being Japan.
Excellent choice. If you were elected king of the world, what's the first thing you would do?
Dissolve my kingship.
Okay. You don't want to be king. Name one thing you will never do again.
Underestimate Tezos.
Very nice. What's the secret to happiness?
Love and feeling your feelings.
Excellent answer. Do you have any pets?
Absolutely. We have 3 cats that are our children.
What are their names?
We have Ziggs, our oldest. He's the chief and the boy, and he's traveled the country with me and is one of the most weathered cats you'll ever meet. We have our middle child, which is Winnie, Winter. She's an absolute diva, always laying around with just like the perfect picture perfect pose, everywhere. And then our youngest, which is Nova Star. She's got these big starry eyes, and she's my baby that's always napping on my lap everywhere.
All right. Finally, what is your favorite thing to do on a rainy day?
Write music or create visual art or both.
Okay. Excellent answers. This concludes the TezTalks lightning round. Let's get back into it.
That was fun.
No, thank you. Now that we've talked about your background and how you're sort of making your mark here in the Tezos ecosystem, I'd like to zoom out a bit and talk about the state of the Tezos art ecosystem and community in 2025 a little bit more broadly. First off, what is the current state of the Tezos art ecosystem today as you see it?
Well, and in my eyes, it's stronger than ever, but you have to look at that from a broader perspective than a lot of people in this market do, right? Of course, if you look and compare volume, stuff like that, it may not be as exciting. But when you're in it and like with the culture, I can tell you that like people are excited, people are motivated, people are innovating. We have a bigger group of like what I call developer artists than I've ever seen. Just constantly chattering about what can be built just for the passion of building it. We've got group chats full of people hosting their own like decentralized game shows around learning the Tezos arts, and people like fighting to the teeth and nail to stay in the game and win. Like the level of passion that we feel around Tezos art is tangible, even though we are in a network, you know? So, I mean, it's undeniable in my eyes. Every week, I'm tasked to come up with an art related thing in Tezos to write about. And I have yet to struggle to do that. You guys, like Tezos, you guys give us plenty to cover to the point where the whole point of it all is making it very, very clear that we'll never be able to cover it all.
Mm. Okay, and something I've talked with folks a lot about here on TezTalks is a sort of ongoing evolution of the blockchain ecosystem, or the blockchain art ecosystem writ large, and what's happening within it right now. With obviously the wider perception of blockchain art being very much tied to the NFT hype cycle that we all saw unfold a few years ago. But even now, with all of that like well in the rear view mirror at this point, artists are still here, as you've talked about, in this space producing massive volumes of really impressive work, particularly here in the Tezos ecosystem. Why do you think that is?
To put it bluntly, mostly because it's the safe place to do so without feeling like you're gonna ruin your art career to the overall perception outside of Tezos. Like that more and more, I feel like that's what I'm seeing is that artists feel like they're given permission to experiment and mess up and find that next stage and like find the art within the mess ups and like let it just be what art's supposed to be, which is like this renaissance of experimentation, where everywhere else it feels like the same old stuffy art world that we've had to fight for centuries. So that's what it comes down to me is because it's not about the money and the chase, it's what attracts the true the true nuances of what makes an art world special.
Okay. Because obviously the financial value proposition for artists in this space today is quite different from what it was at like the peak of that cycle.
Absolutely.
So is that the value proposition for an artist entering the blockchain art game in 2025, that experimentation? Like what can an artist find in this space right now that makes it appealing?
A place to start building an actual long-term career that is not just technically capable and built for the unforeseen, but also as far as networking capable of giving you the connections and the storylines and the experiences to keep expanding your art career. That's my literal personal experience where every time I've thought, well, maybe I should go somewhere else, something has reminded me why I shouldn't and why
Mm,
I chose Tezos as my career blockchain, both as a financial goal and as an artist. Is it just feels like the place where not rushing will benefit and become more meaningful long term.
okay. And that hype cycle that I keep referencing, it was centered to a large extent on things like PFPs, whereas
100%.
the work being produced today seems to have progressed significantly from that. How has blockchain powered art evolved in the years since that hype cycle died down, in your view?
Well, for one, we have all of that there, like historically on ledgers to look back at and analyze and really consider and reflect on. And it's one of the things that I actually appreciate about the cyclical nature of it all is that we're almost like guaranteed 4 years to just like build and think and
Hmm.
plan and consider and reflect on the last wave. So when you look at it that way, it's actually my article that I'm writing this week has to do with reflecting on PFP art on Tezos, what made it special, what made it art, what made it different, and how it actually benefited the cycle overall and helping the non-PFP art have a house and a home
Hmm.
and support and people with frankly profits to play with. you know so that's the whole concept of I do think there is a value to the cyclical nature and acknowledging it and that there is potentially another wave coming for PFP art on Tezos and why maybe artists of other styles of art should try to be excited for that instead of like frustrated by it.
Well, I'm not, to be clear, I'm not denigrating PFPs. My
I know.
my view, like, all art reflects the moment in time in which it was produced, right? And in that moment in time, that was a thing. It had value. It was interesting, right?
It's always going to have a debate around it, which which I like to acknowledge, but 100% agree with you. I'm not personally degrading it and feel a lot of passion behind specifically what PFP art has done for my experience in Tezos and overall blockchain. And overall, how I feel like it really does serve as a face and a marketing that when people go beyond is when you really start reading the book.
Yeah. And let us never forget that you sold out your butterflies, right?
Amen. Yes.
So, how would you describe the global blockchain art scene in 2025 and the work being produced within it today?
It's very exciting, very, like the compression before an explosion. Like it feels like that. You see all these artists just intensely crafting and creating and planning and sharing their works in progress. And we've got the perfect example of that build up right now is Mythfits. The Myth, very, very well known artist in Tezos. And we've got Trilitech and Object posting all these really exciting like teasers of like the special editions. And it's a great example of what I think will be a strong reminder of what makes Tezos PFPs different is that, and that's that they're just artsier. They incorporate the culture that's embedded in our blockchain and with our community. And that like a lot of these initial renditions we're seeing are based on real people with real stories and accomplishments on our blockchain and not just random profile pictures. Another aspect of that is that a lot of the PFP art I've seen on Tezos is hand-drawn components that are just being generatively combined. So you still have that level of like intention going into them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And something that you've already touched on a couple of times, but something that I hear a lot in my conversations with artists is I often hear about things being quote unquote different here in the Tezos art space compared to the art scenes that have emerged on other chains. As someone who's obviously thought deeply about blockchain art and Tezos's presence in the digital art space, what exactly is it that sets Tezos apart and has attracted so many artists to this ecosystem?
It's interesting because the direct answer to that can't be the subconscious reason like artists are coming here. Because the direct answer to that, absolutely, to me, is the technology. It's the protocol. It's the self-amending ledger. It's the idea that the people holding the Tezos have the say and the voting power in what happens to the network. And just the continuous improvement. The fact that when I was minting Object 17, it took almost like a whole minute just sitting there watching a little thing rotate. And today it's instantaneous, just in one cycle. And I
Mm,
guarantee nobody on, I hate to say it, but like this, but nobody in Ethereum is be able to brag about that kind of a change in a short period of time. So that to me is more and more examples of uh, the corruption playing its role will bring more and more people over to like the organic nature of long-term growth and experimentation
mm,
housed by sound technology that is Tezos. I just don't see it anywhere else. And
mm,
in my own experiences going over and play everywhere else, it's like you go to, for example, Ethereum and you use like Etherlink as the new EVM version of Tezos, essentially. And for me, it was the first time I went over to use Ethereum products and didn't hate it. It's like, huh, Tezos fixed this.
mm,
It was like quite literally that meme in real life. So, in my own personal experience, I feel like that's probably why is that more and more people are voicing their frustrations about other chains, and people are saying, "Hey, have you tried Tezos?"
mm. Well, it almost, you know, to hear someone say it, it almost sounds silly to be like, Well, that took a minute. Who has a minute? But it's like that is the expectation that people have, that everything is going to be like that. That's what people expect from their digital experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, aside from things getting faster and smoother as we go, where do you think blockchain art is headed in the future? Like, what does all of this mean?
Well, art is art, and the medium it's housed in is relevant, but doesn't change the art. So that what we're really talking about is digital art, art that can be showcased in a digital form, and how that benefits the art world and how blockchain enables it. And the answer to that is essentially the ownership and the ability to, no matter where you are in the world, sync up to a blockchain, pull up a description and an image and an artist link, and like be genuinely like within an internet connected to all those things, so that you can go to a gallery in Berlin or a gallery in Seattle, and up on a digital screen, you feel like connected to the same artwork being
Mhm.
showcased in both places as as the one that it is. And again, that's where I feel like really digital makes a difference, is the fact that if you have a one physical, it can only be in one place ever at one time, you know? So you have this opportunity to then take showcasing art, digital, mobile, it just expands how you can let the world consume art.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, that's the simple answer, is that I think that blockchain art allows and will allow more and more ways for the world to consume and understand and appreciate art.
Okay. And what obstacles need to be overcome in order for us to get there?
The profit centric mindset. It's the same thing that's kind of cursed the art world before all this too. You know, you got like people buying bananas taped to walls for millions of dollars and then eating them on camera, like a slap to the face to all the artists in the world that are starving. Like we need more and more examples of how it can be meaningful beyond monetary gain. That's what it comes down to.
Okay. And as we move onwards into that journey, what's next for Yoeshi? Do you have any exciting projects or announcements in the works right now?
Right now, as far as personal projects, it's been, first of all, like a long journey getting to the point where I'm at right now, where I can look at my music and my art and even process a plan. And that's much, honestly, thanks to Tezos Commons, thanks to the break to focus on something bigger than myself, you know. But now I can actually look at the songs I've written over the past several years and say, I think I'm ready to like really put together a plan and produce these out and put them out in a way where the world might actually hear them for a change, and not the entire time be stressed about the sales or like selling out. It's like one of the things that essentially this whole thing has taught me, and given me the opportunity to look at the initial goal why I dove into blockchain. It's actually I had a realization really like, holy crap, I actually did that. I need to stop and acknowledge that and start really analyzing my plan with an understanding that that part of the reason I came here, we did that. It's now time for the next stage. So now I'm looking at my work with Tezos Commons, how I can keep climbing with them and like continue playing a role again that's bigger than me, but also acknowledge I feel ready and that I have like the energy to put out my next album and do it in a way that honors what I've done on Tezos, but also allows me to expand into back into Web 2 in some ways.
Yeah. Well, it's something that doesn't get talked about maybe as much as it should, which is the marriage between this technology and art has created space for people. People
Oh,
who want to focus on art, who want to do art, who want to be that where want to have that be where their energy is focused. It has created a space for them to do that, and it's created a way for them to keep the lights on while they do that, right?
Absolutely.
Um,
That's probably the most powerful thing about the space for me personally, is that exact thing is what it offered me, and it worked. And here I am, and I'm able to talk to you and share that story, and
here you
hopefully,
are.
yeah, like we'll keep it going.
What's the question that you get asked the most about blockchain's place in the world of art, and how do you answer it?
So this is where I really just before I answer that, this is where I always come back to feeling like, as silly as it sounds, we are still ridiculously early.
Mm,
Because with anything that's significant in its early phases, it's kind of a meme at first. Like think about AOL, like the chat rooms, like like we think back to AOL chat. You've got mail, all that stuff. It's like a meme to us. It
mm-hmm,
wasn't that serious, but then it developed into literally everything we have today.
mm,
That's where we are. We're at the "you've got mail" kind of laugh at it kind of phase. We haven't really realized everything it's going to be. And so that's for me again, like when it comes to where we're headed, that's why I think that where we're at and what we're doing is so significant. It's when people ask right now, "Hey, how's crypto doing?" 9 out of 10 times they mean, "How's the charts?"
yeah,
They're not even associating yet, like the rest of the web and what it does for them in their everyday lives.
yeah,
So it's hard to answer that question because, again, we're so freaking early that the associations aren't even there for people to connect the dots. But that being said, that's also why moments like when I put out one of my visual pieces of art as an NFT, and my mom saw it and liked it, and then I said, "Why don't I give you this NFT and then print it on the wall?" And the second I printed it on the wall, it was like, "Okay, I get it. This was like this is like the copy. This is the one of one print of the piece that I liked initially just because it was digital."
yeah.
So there's like an example of where I feel like just living it, showing it, being examples of what it can be beyond, "Hey, I made 3x on my investment."
Yeah.
That's how we get there.
Okay. We could go on all day, but unfortunately, we're almost at the end here. To all our viewers, thanks for watching. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our social media contacts can be found at tezoscommons.org/TezTalks. We'd love to hear from you. Yoeshi, thanks so much for joining us today. It's always awesome to speak to the folks keeping the Tezos art ecosystem moving forward. Is there anything else you wanted to mention before we sign off here?
Just make sure that if you are on X to tune in to Artsy Fridays. It's very, very meaningful. Absolutely so fun to continue hearing these artists' stories get broken down, hearing their workflows, their inspirations, their process, their story on Tezos. So absolutely tune in to Artsy Fridays. And just thank you guys so much for letting me share more about what I'm doing here in the space, my own personal journey, the art, and what it all means in the bigger picture. Really appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Hopefully, we can do it again sometime. To everyone out there in Tezos land, thanks for joining us on TezTalks Live. I'm Stu from the Tezos Commons, and our awesome guest has been Tezos art legend Yoeshi. Now let's go support our Tezos art community.